In this episode, we're going to talk about why detailers should actually think about getting a shop and why they should probably think about offering window tint services in their business. Now, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Jobber, which we've been using them now for the last 5 years. And from us going from mobile detailing to offering detailing, then offering vinyl wraps and PPF and window tint, we've used Jobber the entire time to streamline our operations. We send out quotes and invoices. We accept payments. Employees clock in and out. We look at all the reports. It sends automated confirmation text messages and emails to customers. It does a lot for us in our business. And again, I've been using it far before I became an ambassador for them. Like I've been paying them for years before we started working together. So if you want to get a free 14-day trial plus a special discount, click the link down below and give it a try. And welcome to a new episode. It's been a while since I've made a podcast episode. It is now the start of the new year. Today, right now, it's January 2nd of 2025. So I hope 2024 was, you hit your goals or you saw progress and you saw growth. And I hope 2025 brings you even more progress and you hit even more goals and you make more money and do it, whatever it is you want to do in your life, whether it's business or personal. I hope you're able to really achieve your goals. So I think one thing in 2025 that I'll kind of lean on a bit more is two things. All right. And that's thinking about and moving towards getting a shop. And then two, getting into window tint services. Um, and that's not going to apply to everyone, but I kind of want to put it on everyone's radar because it's one of those you don't know what you don't know, right? Because I really don't until recently when we started getting into tint. So we just now February like next month, February, I think like maybe 10th will be 1 year that we are doing window tint services, right? Because last year, 2024, we sent Angel to go get trained, I think on the 10th, somewhere around there, right? Like, call it the first week of February. Angel went out to go get trained for window tint. Like we had no window tint experience before then. We've never tinted anything. We've never purchased window tint film. We sent him out to go get trained. So next month will be a year with window tinting. And realistically, we didn't get comfortable with window tint until maybe 4 months ago, right? So very recently, and obviously, like we've been tinting for a year, so learning the pricing, the systems, the scheduling, inventory, like getting a plotter software, like all that we still learn within the year, right? So we're still very new to it. But even so, up until we started doing anything film related, I didn't hear much, even the last 10 years of why a detail shop or a detailer should move into window tinting. And I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, but the differences, the profit margins, the revenue that you can generate from window tinting is nothing in comparison to detailing, right? Like detailing and window tinting is comparing apples to oranges. You can't match them at all. And that's to say, detailing isn't bad, but again, and this is why I want to lean a bit more this year, kind of just letting you guys know, opening your mind to saying there's a reason why you want to get a shop. So, and this one specifically, we're gonna cover why a detailer should get a shop versus just being mobile. Now, again, this is for this isn't like a blanket sheet of information that I'm giving to everyone, right? Like if you're just getting started, you don't need to worry about tint. You don't need to worry about getting a shop. You are fully mobile. It makes the most sense. You go to the customer location. Like no doubt about it. You should start being mobile. No question about it. But if you have those aspirations or those goals to continue to grow, to hit, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month, you need to have this on your radar, right? Again, if you're just getting started, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in the next 6 months or the next 2 years, but like it's a goal you have on your horizon that at some point it's gonna make sense. Okay. Because so if we offer film services here now, right? So we offer vinyl wrap services, which again, that in itself blows detailing out of the water. I think we did a chrome delete on I forget what it was. It was $850. I think like $30 was for the film that because it was a chrome delete, so we ordered the 1 inch strips or whatever. That was so it was like 820 in labor revenue, right? Meaning how much we're charging for us to work on it. And we finished that in 7 hours. So I think like per hour is like $114 per hour with one person working on that vehicle. It is outrageous what you can hit with your hourly and revenue rates compared to anything detailing related. Anyways, so we offer film services, right? We offer vinyl wrap, PPF, and window tint. And of those, I wonder if you guys can hear that squeaking. And of those three, to me, because if you ask any film person, any film shop, they'll probably give you a different answer. But for me, the happy medium between all those three is going to be window tint. PPF is definitely, at least in my opinion, and from what an Angel is like, PPF is definitely more difficult. It's more skill. It's more. It's less forgiving when you make a mistake. Not so much that you can't fix it, but the cost of the material is much more expensive depending on what panel you're working on. And it's like a big one piece front bumper, and everything is going great until you do a wrong cut or something goes wrong on the other side of the bumper, and like you try to save it, you redo it, whatever. So it's more risk in terms of like you kind of get one more shot at it, because again, like, you can't just be going through film on PPF because it's so expensive, right? Like a roll of film, depending where you're getting it from, is like what, and depending the shot, the gloss, the all this, but $1,200 to $1,600 for a roll of film. Whereas with tint, even if you're getting ceramic 40 by 100, that might be, I think, like what, maybe depending where you're getting it from, $400 to $700, right? So you just have more. The pain is much easier when you're just ripping off a window tint to redo it versus when you're ripping off a panel on a vehicle, right? So anyway, so to me, the happy medium between getting into film is going to be window tint for me. Again, other shops, there's other shops that just do PPF, right? There's other shops that primarily just do vinyl, and they'll give you a different answer. But to me, it's PPF. I'm sorry, it's window tint, especially for detailers, right? Because the most complimentary film service that detailers will get asked about is tint. I mean, I can look back at the last 5 years, and again, like every now and then we'd be asked about PPF. We've never been asked about vinyl wrap, but window tint, we've always been asked like, "Hey, do you guys do tint? Hey, do you do tint? Hey, do you know anyone that does tint?" So if I can go back in time, we did vinyl wrap, PPF, and then window tint, right? Vinyl wrap we started. Yeah, I want to say 2 years ago. So if I could have switched that over, I would have loved to start window tinting 2 years ago, because we'd be in a completely different spot right now with our services, with our revenue, and what we're doing. So yeah, so and the reason why I say this is because so many years, like I've never heard anyone talk. Not that obviously there's shops that do window tint. Window tint is a big thing, at least in the detailing space. But it's not something that I heard a lot about in terms of like why they do that, or like why it's so much better than detailing. And again, like a big focus in 2025 for us is window tint, right? Like we want to push more on ads. We want to book in more customers for window tint, because when you look at the numbers, it's like you can't compare it. Like it's like, that's what I said. Like it's apples to oranges when it comes to window tint. Now, before you get to window tint, at least in my opinion, again, like there's mobile window tint services out there. Like 100%, it's doable. The only problem with that is, and I'm going to talk about why you should get a shop, is because with window tint services, with mobile window tint services, one, just the environment, it's going to get dirty, debris. It's a much higher chance of debris getting on the back of the film when you're installing. But more so than that is, if you're a mobile detailer, you already have your rig set up for mobile detailing, right? And sometimes it might be a truck, it might be a trailer, it might be a small vehicle. If you're going to do mobile window tinting, you need to have a vehicle just for window tinting, because you need to have your peel board in your van. You need to get a small plotter in your van. And that in itself already takes up all the space, or a majority of the space that you'll need, because you also need to sit in there too to cut out the film. At that point, you can't have both types of setups in there, at least efficiently, to where it's going to make sense for both, right? Like you'd have to really give up a lot of things in your mobile unit to fit both if you wanted to do both, right? And this will lead into my next point. But and before we get like more into it, with window tint, it's the easiest of the three to upsell. right? And not even to upsell. Like customer just come in here already knowing what they want. Okay, so with window tint, especially if you're in a state that gets hot, Arizona, Texas, literally anywhere else, Alabama, literally just the lower south. If you're in an area where it gets hot, okay, everyone knows what tint is, right? There's no one goes to a dealership and say, what's that thing that makes my windows dark? Everyone knows what window tint is, okay? So they're already aware of like one, hey, I want to be either have more privacy. I just want to make it look better. And at least to us and our business, the way we market our window tint services, 90% of the window tint services that we do is ceramic. It's not, we stopped offering classic, meaning just a dyed film. We'll offer carbon as an option, but 90% of what we sell, of what we book in, is ceramic film. So it's such an easier task. Now compare that to like PPF, right? Like we just sent a quote out. Well, we booked it in for a Ford GT40. What is it? Ford GT40, right? Yeah. We are doing correction coating, PPF removal, and then a potential front end PPF, depending on how the PPF comes off. But that one's quoted at $6,000, I think. But regardless, with that, like we can have a interior detail and a wash and wax come in for $400 to $600, and then we offer them window tint, and we can book them in for an additional $600 to $800 window tint job, right? We have plenty of customers that walk into our shop, say, "Hey, I'm looking for a window tint quote. Can you give me a quote?" We talk to them, we book them in, right? $400, $600, $800, right? So it's a lot easier to book someone in for a window tint job than, let's say, a PPF, because with PPF, like it's a specific kind. Actually we have. I was gonna say we don't have people. We don't have walk-ins that just come in and want to book in, a $2,000 to $4,000 job, but it happens, but very very seldom, right? Like we don't have a $600 detail, and then we're like, oh, by the way, we do PPF, and they're like, oh, great, let me book that. Let me book that $4,000 detail in, right? It happens. Don't get me wrong. Like the Ford GT, that was just a walk-in. We had no prior communication, and he wanted us to look at his vehicle, and we booked him in. The Audi that came in, that was $3,000. There was, they just walked in and they wanted a quote, and we booked it in. But aside from that, though, window tint is the most complimentary film service for detailers. So the perceived, and I'll create a lot more podcast episodes on this into 2025, but the perceived value of window tint is far greater than detailing and even paint correction and ceramic coating. Meaning, like, if you wanted to charge, I won't get too much into the details just because I'm going to keep on talking and then this is going to turn into like an hour-long podcast. But anyways, the perceived value is a lot greater, right? So, and it's easier to sell an $800 window tint job, ceramic. It's easier to sell an $800 ceramic window tint job than it is to sell an $800 correction, okay? Not that either one is less valuable, but I'm saying in the perceived value of like what the customer is willing to pay, there's a lot more benefit and value of getting a ceramic window tint job than it is to get correction and coating, or just a correction. Okay, just keeping things very very general. I'll go into more detail in the future. So anyway, so here's why I'm gonna talk more about getting a shop and getting into tint. So specifically on the shop part, okay? Because the biggest thing that and don't get me wrong, we just moved into the shop 19, 20, 22, 23, 24. Okay, 6 years. Damn, 6 years ago. Jeez, Louise, that's crazy. By the way, I no longer say I can't wait for something. You know how like when you get excited and like, the NFL season is starting up, or the Super Bowl, or NBA or baseball, and I can't wait to the new season. I've taken that out of my vocabulary because like you just saw here, it's been 6 years since we got a shop. Time moves too fast. So now I no longer say, oh, I can't wait for that. I always say now, I can't wait for that, because time moves way too fast. So yeah, now what I say is, oh, I can wait for that. I can definitely wait for that. I can wait for everything. I wish time would move slower because it just goes by so fast. So a big thing is like detailers always talk about, and again, I was mobile for 11 years, and this is why, like, if you're a detailer, if you're just getting started, if your revenue isn't there, stay mobile. That is the best option. It's the least amounts of overhead. You go to the customer. It's an easier sale. It's more convenient for the customer. There's just a lot more that's flexible with mobile detailing. Now, once you get past that point, or you put that goal on your horizon of wanting to get a shop, here's why I recommend it. So for instance, if you're going to work on the problem with, again, now that I'm talking of like, okay, once you get past, like, once you're past the beginning phase, once you're actually making money, right? Now, if you're just getting started, again, the only thing you should be focused on is literally just stay mobile. It's going to be the best option. Again, I did it for 11 years. So the thing with mobile is that, and again, this is going to be so dependent on, is it just you? Do you have a team? Is it just one other person? Do you have multiple units? So I'm going to keep it very, very generalized and simple, okay? So let's just say one person. Let's just say you, okay? You are the most efficient employee that you'll ever have, right? As the owner, you know everything, you know every service, you know every customer, you know every job, you know, like, you'll be the most, like, no one will ever be as efficient as you in your business. So let's say you have 40 hours of work. The schedule is 40 hours, right? When you're mobile, you don't work for 40 hours because you have drive time, right? You have windshield time, right? Like when you're driving to the customer's location. So if you have very good route density, meaning like all your customers are within what, 10 minutes, 10 miles? No, not 10 miles, but like 10 to 15, like 15 minutes within where you live, right? From where you leave to the customer's location and back. If everyone is within 15 minutes, it probably won't be that bad. Realistically, I don't think a lot of detailers have good route density, right? Now, again, depending on the service, on the price, that's a bit more acceptable, because if you're driving, 30 minutes to go do a $1,200 correction and coding, okay, that makes sense. But aside from that, if you're doing these smaller jobs and you're driving 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 15 minutes there, that eats up a lot into your drive time. So let's say the most conservative number, and let's say you're at 85% efficiency, right? So out of 40 hours, right, you have 34 working hours, meaning you're on the job site and you're able to work on a customer's vehicle. Okay, so that means of the 40 hours, 6 hours out of the week goes into prepping your van, filling up the chemicals, driving, setting up, whatever, right? So 6 hours. So now that means out of a month now, right, of those 34 hours, you only have 136 hours to work. Now, again, you can always say, oh, well, I can work longer days. Absolutely, right? That'll increase your work time on cars. You could work another day, right? So again, we're keeping things very general. You can always skew this to work more hours. And again, I'll tell you, if you are a solo operator and you are saying, oh, I could just work longer, how long can you keep that up for? Like, how long can you just keep on working on an extra day on Saturday or Sunday and be away from friends and family? And how many times do you want to work from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. because you need to work more hours? Like, how long is that going to last? Because it's very true. Like when you're younger, when you're just getting started, you have that drive. But again, like if your goal is to keep on growing, it's not all going to be like, oh, I just need to work more on the field, right? Anyways, keep on going. So in total, there's 136 hours. And again, if you want to work more days, work more hours, you can, duh. But just trying to keep things very simple. On top of that, right? So that's an efficiency score of 85%. If you have like a dedicated mobile team and like they're going out, most likely that efficiency rate will go down simply due to the fact that you're the best employee. So their efficiency rate might go from 85% to like 80%, 75%, right? Depending on their customers, where they're at. Like you'll never have a more efficient employee than yourself, like never. So anyway, so another problem with mobile detailing is, for instance, the winter months. Like here in Texas, we might get like 2 months of winter, and even then, it's kind of mild. Well, we might have like a winter freeze next week. But aside from that, like, it's a bit mild in terms of like, it's not like if you're in Wisconsin or Ohio, or like those actually get cold. So that's gonna change. I mean, you might have 3-4 months of like straight winter, right? Like Chicago. So that'll affect your revenue during the winter months. Next is just bad weather, right? Is there depending where you live, is there a forest fire, California? Is there heavy rain, Seattle? If there's flooding, Houston. Is there just massive heat waves, Houston? Things of this will also affect your production just because weather gets in the way. It is what it is for mobile detailers, and to an extent that also affects shops as well. Like shops aren't immune to weather getting in their way, right? Um, it's a bit less. It's a lot less, but weather can still get in the way. Like for instance, when we get our power knocked out here, for 4 days, I mean, what I could turn on the generator, but I'm still impacted by no power here, right? Like we're not gonna we're not gonna run at full efficiency when typically we have like 6 outlets to work with, and now we have one generator. Like it's not the same still. So we're still impacted by having our power go out. And then the biggest one that I want to kind of refer to here is the potential revenue that you're not making. And this is where I'm going to tie it in together, and this is where I'll probably end it here. But when you're mobile, the potential revenue that you can make off of new services, new upsells, new anything is a lot less just because you're mobile. Okay. So for instance, we got to shop when we were just detailing, right? The highest service that we had was a correction and coating. Okay. Now, eventually, after the fact, we started offering smoke odor removal. Okay. And with smoke odor removal, we quickly realized we need to keep this car for at least a day and a half to 2 days to do it right. And because we already had the shop, there was no in between of that, right? Like since we were already to shop, we said, "Oh, like we did a few jobs. We did one mobile job and it didn't work out at all." So we quickly said when we started talking to leads about smoke odor, we immediately started saying, "Hey, we might need this for a day and a half to 2 days." And since we already had the shop, boom, we just started booking it in. Like there was no loss between, "Oh, I think we need it for 2 days. Now what do we do?" It's like, "Oh no, once we realized that we needed the cars here for a day and a half to 2 days, boom, that next car that we booked in, it was for 2 days, right? Because we already had the shop. Like, so our potential revenue to make that on those cars was there. I could talk about vinyl wrap. I could talk about PPF. I'm just gonna skip to window tint. So once we went through the other services and we did full wraps on vehicles for vinyl wrap, we did front end installations for PPF. We started looking into window tint, and with that one, we sent Angel to go get trained the first week of February of last year. And then from there, because once with film, like with anything, you just have to practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. And because we have the shop, right? That's what we did. And I mean, that's what we did with vinyl wrap. That's what we did with PPF. Then that's what we did with window tint. Once he went to go get trained, I mean, and like my car, my friend's car, his friend's car, his family's car, anyone could come in, just let us tint your vehicle, right? Like for free, because Angel needed as much training as he could, right? Hands-on training. So like again, if we were slow, we tried to tint someone's car. After hours, we'd have a friend come over so we can tint their cars. On the weekends, he'd come in to tint his car because he simply just needed to train, right? And having the shop allowed for that flexibility for us to really train every single day, right? Which is why he's I mean, one, Angel himself like watches tint videos all the time because he wants to learn. But on top of that, because we have the shop, we're able to offer that flexibility of like, hey, whenever like we're gonna try to practice as much as we can to get these services up and running in the shortest amount of time. And so having that shop, right, allowed us to work that. The next thing is that again, like if you have a customer mobile and they're asking for like an additional service, it's a little hard to do if you already have a booked out schedule, if they're far away, if it's bad weather, if they don't have room, if the work environment itself is a little too close to other cars, whatever. But with a shop, if a customer comes to us and we're doing a whatever detail, and oh, you guys do tint, are you guys able to tint my car? And let's say we already have a booked out schedule, we can always book them out further in advance, right? But we do play the card of like, hey, we're already booked out for the next 2-3 days. If you're able just to leave your car here over the next, and this is actually applicable for any service. We're already booked out. If you want to leave your car here, we can work on it over the next 2 days, and you'll be able to pick it up Saturday morning. A lot of times, like, yeah, just we have another car, just keep it. It's already here. Just keep on working on it, right? So we're able to capitalize on a lot more jobs right then and there because we have the shop, we have the space, we can put the car in the parking lot, and then once we have time, we bring it in, we start working on it. So the potential revenue that you miss out on because you don't have the flexibility of a shop to hold the car longer, to, like there's just so many things that a shop does that just allows you to do more, right? It opens up a lot more potential. And again, like when we got the shop, I didn't think about smoke order. I think we actually did. So I'll take that one back. When we had the shop, we definitely did not think about PPF, window tint, and vinyl wrap. Like that was not on our agenda at all until Angel came along. And now that when he came along, again, like because we had the shop, the potential revenue was there. It's not like we just needed to get the labor, the skill, and we can start offering. And again, like we didn't need to go get, well, we got a bigger shop, but we didn't need to go get a bigger shop. It's like, oh, we need the labor, we need the skill set. So Angel, we have the shop. Okay, we'll just bring the cars here, And again, like it doesn't interrupt the detailing for like we're still detailing. And if we book in a window tint, well, like, anyways, I'm gonna keep on yapping about that too. So I'll make another episode on it. But the big thing is the potential revenue, the potential earnings, right? Between the potential services that you can offer, holding more cars, stacking more cars on your schedule, and another big thing too. Again, if you eventually want to get employees, this is an absolute crucial thing in your business, and it's the efficiency rate. Okay, like if you have bad route density, if you're just driving all over the place, and let's say you're at like. And let's say you're just bad, right? Like you don't have the most efficient mobile unit setup, and you're at 70% efficiency, right? Let's say your employees, your mobile crew is at 70% 70% efficiency. That means out of 40 hours, there's 28 hours to work on an actual vehicle, right? Like hands are on a vehicle making money. If there's a tech, right? If you have a tech that's clocked in, but their hands aren't on a car, that's lost revenue. Right? They're not making you money. All that drive time, setting up, all that's just lost money. And again, like at times there's no way around it, right? Like your efficiency score won't be 100%, right? Because you need to drive to the customer. So I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying if you're at 70% efficiency based on drive time, based on setup, based on everything, you only of 40 hours, there's only 28 actual hours that you're actually working on a customer's vehicle and making money, right? And that's a lot of labor revenue that's being spent on waste because you're literally not working on vehicles for almost for 12 hours out of that 40-hour work week. It's a lot harder to hit your goals. And then we can go so far into like budgeted hours, the hourly rate, what you're charging to the customer, that just eats away at your revenue. Like it eats away at your profit if you're running at this kind of efficiency, which is really bad. And all you have to do is literally like look at all the. One thing we really messed up on was not like one thing I recommend is not clocking in. So the mistake that we would do is we would clock in at the start of the day and clock out at the end of the day, but we weren't clocking in per job. And that's super important because you need to see the man hours on every vehicle. So the reason why I'm saying that is to check your efficiency rate, you could just look at total time clocked in divided by your budgeted hours, right? So, or I like to put it more simple, like of the however many hours that they worked in the week, what was the percentage of that they were actually clocked in on a job, right? So there's if they worked, let's say 10 hours one day, and they were clocked in 3 hours at the first job and 2 hours or 3 hours at the next job. That's 6 hours. That's it. That's 6 budgeted hours worked, right? So then if they worked a 10-hour day, again, as an example, then there's 4 hours that's like not clocked in on a car, right? So at that one, it'd be 60% efficiency rate, right? Hopefully that's literally nobody because that'd be so terrible. Anyways, but all that to say on my next point is that with a shop, right, with a tech, their efficiency score should be 90%, right? And I say 90% just because they're not robots. Right? Like it's not fair to think that they have to work on a car every single minute of the day. They're gonna go to the restroom. They're getting stuff around the shop. They clean up a little bit. They get a sip of water. They sit down for a little bit. So, you don't want to say, even if you say 95%, I mean that's still a little harsh. Like 38 hours 30, if they're, let's just say 90%, because 95%, I mean, it'd be good, but I mean, give them a little break. Like they can chill a little bit, right? So if they're at 90% efficiency, which over here we are, because at a shop, like the only time someone would be clocked in at a shop is because they're working on a car, right? Unless you're like, hey, like, we're clocking into, 20 minutes of cleanup or prep or whatever. That's fine. But aside from that, the only time they're clocked in is because they're working on a vehicle. There is no drive time. All the customers come to you. You can stack vehicles, right? You can really pack out the schedule. So now at a shop, at a 40 hours, you are at 90% efficiency, right? Which is out of now 40 hours, you get 36 hours to work. Now, again, we're not talking about budgeted hours, projected hours. We're not talking about how many people are working with you. We're not talking about, like paid for performance. That's something that we're trying to do in sometime this year, hopefully by February, where 33% of the labor revenue goes to the techs. So again, that's not talking about any of that. But this is why I think detailers need to move into a shop space specifically for, well, not specifically for, but why they need to move into a shop space, and then why tint is such a viable option. Because again, like we can do an $800, a $600 job in 4 hours or so. And again, I'm trying to not go too far into the weeds because then I have to explain a lot more. What are you charging per man per hour in your business, right? If there's 2 of you, right, and you're gonna go to a job location, you have to charge per hour per man. So a mistake a lot of people make is like, oh, we try to make $100 an hour. Okay, if there's 2 of you, you're only making $50 an hour. If you truly wanted to make $100 an hour, it has to be $100 an hour per man per hour. So if you're on a job site for 4 hours, if you're on a job site that takes you 4 man hours, right? So let's say from 9 to 11, it's 2 hours, but there's 2 of you. So it's 4 man hours. If you wanted to charge $100 an hour, that would be $400 for the job, because it's at $100 per hour per man. But what a lot of people do is, we try to make $100 an hour, and there's 2 of y'all. So realistically, you are making $50 an hour per man on the job site. That's a big deal. And if you don't know what you're charging, you are probably leaving a lot of money on the table. Anyways, I say that because with detailing, like on the more simple services, like interior cleanings, engine cleanings, most of them, short, like if it's polishing, it's a bit better. But anything short of that, you're probably hitting what, $60 to $75 an hour, right, per man per hour. Again, going back to potential revenue, we might start offering water damage restoration. And with that one, like our starting price is $1,800. Like, if it requires that much work. But if we're doing like the full-fledged, like removing carpet, seats, ripping out carpet, it's gonna start at $1,800. And we're measuring that one, or we're running that service at $85 per hour per man. All right. Now with a full interior cleaning, like a standard interior cleaning, we try to get close to like $60 to $70 per hour. Okay, per man. Remember, it's not in total. Like if there's 3 people working on the vehicle at once, like let's say, again, it's $50 per hour per man, for example. So if there's 3 people working on it for an hour, that hour needs to be charged at $150, right? So anyways, hopefully you got I'll make a lot more episodes about this in the future. With window tint, we can hit 85 on the low end to $120 per hour with 1 person on those jobs. So the margins on those things is so abysmal, not even close to comparing it to detailing. Now, again, I'm not going to yap too much, but you can always adjust the hourly rate in terms of you're more efficient, you charge more. There's a lot of things that you can do, right? Like you could technically hit $110 per hour on an interior cleaning if the customer is willing to pay for that. Now, I don't think most customers are going to be able to pay that would want to pay $110 per hour. And you don't charge per hour to the customer. You charge the job, but the way you look at it as a business owner, you say, okay, I think that's going to take me 6 hours. And I want, and then, you know, I try to hit around 110 hours per hour. If it's just me. So that job, what did I just say? Let's say it takes you 4 hours and you want to hit $110 per hour, and it's just going to be me. So that should be $440 that I charge on that job. Right now, again, if there's two of y'all working on that car and you want to finish in those 4 hours, or let's say, it'd be the same thing. But let's say, you know, you're looking at it and it's four of you, it's two of you, and it's going to take you 4 total man hours. It's really hard to think on the spot. Anyways, what I'm getting at is we can hit such a higher hourly rate with window tint, and the same thing's applicable to PPF and vinyl. Like the reason why I'm sticking with window tint is because it's such a complementary service to detailing versus PPF and vinyl wrap. We do both. Like we do both. Full wraps, PPF, tint, but I really think tint is the happy medium between those services. So hopefully that shines some light on you. Hopefully you took something away. Again, over this year, I'll be making more content on that because it is such an important topic. And again, there's nothing wrong with mobile detailing. It just, once you get to that point of like trying to grow or do something else, like it just, the shop opens up a lot more opportunities. So I'll go ahead and end it right there, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.